Hi, parents. It's Robbin McManne here. Thank you for listening to Parenting Our Future, which is in the top 0.5% of all podcasts worldwide. Before we dive into this episode, I want to invite you to join my membership site, the Parent Toolbox. You can join this membership for free. It's at www.parent-toolbox.com. And this is the companion site to my show, Parenting Our Future. In the Parent Toolbox, you will find game-changing tools and resources from both myself and my guest experts who are among some of the top minds in the parenting space. There are over 100 resources to help you navigate screen time, co-parenting, meltdown, teenagers, and so much more. Join today at www.parent-toolbox.com. Now back to the show. You know, I always say that I bring you pretty amazing guests. Wait till you hear about the world-class guest that I have today. I mean, she is the best of the best when it comes to cybersecurity and keeping you and your family safe. I am so excited to introduce you to Maria-Kristina Hayden. She is, okay, just wait. I'll embarrass you, Christina, but I'm going to say it all. You got to hear why she's so incredible. Okay, so first and foremost, she is an internationally recognized expert in cyber hygiene and resiliency. Her mission is to raise global levels of cyber risk awareness and enable organizations and individuals to take control back from cyber criminals. Thank you so much. Are you wearing cape right now? You must be. Okay.
I'm not. It's at the cleaners.
Okay. So she's delivered security awareness sessions and war games to over 15,000 people worldwide. She's a sought after keynote speaker, author, and the 2022 recipient of the Women in Technology Excellence Security Leader of the Year Award. Pardon me. Okay, Maria-Kristina is also the CEO and founder of Outfoxing Incorporated, the world's first boutique consulting firm advising Fortune 500 enterprises on immersive cyber attack solutions and human cyber risk. In prior positions that she's held, okay, get this. This is just the last little tidbit I'll tell you about her. She led the Bank of New York Mellon's cyber war game program, served as a cyber intelligence officer for the Defense Intelligence Agency, supported the U.S. military as an Air Force civilian at the Pentagon, and served as a congressional researcher in the House of Representatives. She also holds a master's degree in cyber intelligence from the National Intelligence University and a bachelor's degree in cyber studies from Georgetown, just to name a few. Is she not amazing? I know you're all amazed. Happy to have you.
Thank you so much for that fabulous intro. I'm really, really happy to be here with you today.
And by the way, it should say in your bio that you're super cool, you're super fun, and super funny.
I am adding you to my PR team today.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, we met a little while ago through our mutual friend, Jason Brick, who's a safety expert and has the YouTube channel Safest Family on the Block. I love Jason. He's phenomenal. I love everything that he does. And so he introduced the two of us, and I have been following you ever since on Instagram, Outfoxing. I've shared many of your posts because they're just so good. And just
thank you.
What you do, yes, you're welcome. And what you do is you make things simple. And I don't think you use scare tactics. I think you're just like, hey, this is what's out there. This is what you do about it.
Mm-hmm. That's the idea. I find that so many people are terrified of all things cybersecurity. They're feeling like it's all so technical they can't possibly understand. And I'm tired of people just trying to make money scaring people when it comes to these things, especially with corporations, but also with individuals. You know, you have to buy this service to protect yourself. You actually don't. There's so many things that we can all be doing every day to protect ourselves and our families and our children. And that's my mission, is to simplify and help empower people in this space. I really love it.
Oh, I love that too, because I think, especially for parents, you know, we've got so many other things on our plate.
That's right.
and we have no choice. We have no choice but to pay attention to this. And so what we're going to do for this conversation is we're going to talk about what we need to know, what the risks are, what the threats are, and then we're going to talk about how to solve that. And you have a brilliant one pager for us in the parent toolbox that every single parent needs. I think everybody needs it, parent or not. So we're going to talk about that too. So can we start by just, okay, why do we need to know this? What is at risk? Is it identity theft? Is it, stealing our bank account money? Is it like, why do we need to know this? And then what are the threats that we're up against at this moment?
Great place to start, Robbin. So, and this is a little bit difficult, I think, to talk about sometimes or to hear. I think it's easier to, in some cases, go through life in a state of bliss, not really understanding the scary things out there in the world. But the fact is that you can't adequately protect yourself or your families or your home if you don't have at least a baseline understanding of some of the risks, right? We wear our seatbelt because we understand the impact of, no pun intended, of car accidents. We lock our front doors because we know that there are burglars sometimes. And the same kinds of principles hold true in our digital lives and in cyberspace. So when we think about just high level cyber risks, of course, there's a lot at stake with some of the things you mentioned, but you can really break it down into two categories. So there's the risks to you financially. So financially motivated cyber criminals that look to steal money or data that they can sell. And then you also have those online that are not in particular seeking money, but they're seeking to do you or your children harm. So on the financial side, you have criminals that want you to click on a link that downloads malware and allows them access to your machine. They can maybe see what you're doing, see your bank account password, ultimately steal money, those kinds of things. Okay. You have criminals who will try to send extortionary messages and say, if you do not send me money, I will harm someone in your family, or I will X, Y, or Z. And as you've spoken about on previous podcasts, Robbin, there's also sextortion, where someone is lured into sending a nude or a semi-nude photo, and then the criminal extorts them and says, I will share this with everyone in your life unless you pay me this amount of money. So those are all financially motivated crimes. These criminals care about cold hard cash, and they don't care about the damage that is left in the wake, right? So that's one category. The other category is what we said, focused on harm. So these criminals are not focused on earning money. They are interested in other things, which are more sinister. So these can be things like harassment and bullying online, things like solicitation and grooming, especially for children, striking up a relationship, building trust over time, impersonating someone they're not, usually someone young and attractive with similar interests, in hopes that they can lure the child to meet in person at the mall one day or something like that. There can be stalking, and then there can be abuse, exposing young children to sexual content, exploiting them. Let's say they get some photos. All kinds of things are possible. And I won't go any further. I think that's enough to give people an idea. Anyone who doesn't think that these risks are real and that there is a risk when you hand your child their first cell phone is unfortunately mistaken. But I'm here to tell you that there are so many things you can do as a parent to take control and create a safe environment in your home and for your child and their digital life.
Yeah, it is hard to get your head around that. It is hard to remember and recognize that there are people that get up every single day to do harm to you or your children.
Mhm.
And that's the reality of it. And we can't sort of stick our heads in the sand. We
That's
do
right.
have to recognize it, right? And you know, I'll say personally, we talk to our boys about it from day one,
That
right?
is
And I think that this also is a bigger conversation about the fact that we've got to be really careful when we're giving our kids devices. And I just had a conversation with the head of Bark Technologies.
yes.
Her name is Titania Johnson, and I mean, she's incredible and really helps with this as well from a technology like an actual phone, you know, piece, which is great.
Yeah.
And so the risks are financial, money, extortion, malware, really just to get your money, and then the other one is harm. And so would one be more international or sort of global, like people from anywhere can get you financially, but the harm, the harassment, like to what end? That is to actually meet somebody in person, to extort them, to traffic them. Is that what we're talking about?
Potentially,
Okay.
yes. For kidnapping, for real physical ransom attempts, you know, these kinds of things, or the kinds of sexual abuse that no parent wants to
Yeah.
think about, but could happen. So that does tend to be more local. If the intent is to have an in-person meetup at some point. Whereas the financially motivated crime can be from somewhere anywhere across the globe, right? They have no intent of meeting anyone in person, and they conduct all of their operations from God knows where.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Okay.
mhm.
Okay, so thank you for
Sure.
that. And you know, you did mention sextortion. I have talked about it, and I have a YouTube video on it. I'm going to put the link in the show notes because every parent needs to know this, and
True.
it's catching a lot of parents off guard. And there's lots of things about it that you do need to know because our kids are at serious risk, and a lot of kids end the abuse through suicide. And so that is why it's a very important topic. So we'll leave that here, but just know
Right.
that there's a resource there. And you've talked about it as well too. So, okay. So those are
Mhm.
sort of the threats. And I like that. I like how you've broken those down for us. So what are we going to do about it then as a family to talk to our kids about it, to keep them safe,
Yes.
all of that stuff?
So one of the most important things that I tell every parent or people who plan to be parents or people who don't ever plan to be parents is when you own a home or you live in an apartment that you rent, you are the chief information officer of your own home. Or you are the chief information security officer, the CISO of your own home. When you're in
Like
corporate
that.
environment, you usually have a CIO and a CISO in your home. That's you. And most people say, oh, I don't want to hear that. I am not qualified for that. I don't want to talk about this. But like I said, it's not that hard. You have to take responsibility for the fact that, you know, our home networks are treasure trove for potential criminals, and
Mm.
our daily behaviors on our digital devices potentially allow attackers right in if we're not careful. So we have to take responsibility. There are three things that I like to talk about in terms of being the CIO or the CISO of your own home. One is culture. Two is prevention in terms of the devices that you bring into your home and how you handle those physical devices.
Okay.
And three is the behavior with those devices. So starting with culture, you are the CIO. You're in charge of the way your family operates, trusts each other, and handles the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of the things that are really important to talk about are general skepticism. Talk to your kids about those threats that we just discussed. When they come up on the news, have a brief conversation and say, hey, have you seen that, on the news, they're talking about this game and how this game is apparently filled with scammers who are messaging children with the chat function on the game.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of this? Did you know this is a possibility? Do you play that game? Having these conversations and exposing your children to the risks is really an important part of culture, the awareness piece. Another part of the culture is encouraging family members to really take note of certain emotions and feelings while they are online, especially fear and shame. So fear and shame are two emotions that should serve as a red flag and valuable warning bells for children if they're conversing with anybody online or doing something on their computer or their phone. If they feel fear or shame, that should be something that you have talked with them about and say, come to me, do not be afraid. If something's going on online that makes you feel afraid or ashamed, because those are common tactics of criminals. And then one that I add nowadays is talk about artificial intelligence as a family. Talk about AI. And again, as you're watching the evening news and you see a news segment about criminals impersonating people using video and voice files, call your kids into the room. Say, let's look at this. Look at this video. That looks like Joe Biden.
Right.
But they're telling us that these were criminals in pick a country, pick a state, that created this video. And what you're doing is you're educating your children that we can no longer trust everything we see and we hear. Mm-hmm. So that if they are ever presented online by a stranger with a video of, look at this video I have of you.
Yeah.
They said, no, I watched with my mom videos. I know that AI can do this and this is not real and this is a scam and I'm not afraid and I'm going to go tell my parents.
Yeah.
So AI is a piece of it now too.
Wow. That is such an important thing to say. Thank you for saying that, because deep fakes are a real thing.
That's right. They're called deep fakes.
They are scary. They are so scary because they're so good. Right. But there's also, if you have a discerning eye, you can see like where it's not perfect or
for now.
I don't want to hear that. Yeah, but you're right. You're right. Okay. So so I'm going to be the CIO.
Culture. Yep.
The CIO, the Chief Information Officer of my home. Yes. I love this. Teach general skepticism. Like, that doesn't sound right. I think like one of the things that I've learned is, if you're online and on a game and someone asks you to change to a different platform, that's a huge red flag, right? So that's
a huge red flag.
Skepticism, yep. Right? And then I love that you are tapping into those emotions. That's so brilliant to me. Notice, like, I'm feeling fear and shame. Hold on, that I shouldn't be feeling that when I'm playing a game.
No, right? or talking to someone, it's tough to convince children to never chat with strangers online, right? That's not a great policy.
Right.
So they're going to have conversations. They're going to be talking about themselves. So I say, when you have those conversations, however long you've been talking to someone, doesn't matter. If at any point you start feeling shame or fear, and then I also started telling people to think about what I call the grocery store rule. Would you tell someone in an aisle of a grocery store all this information about you? And if you bring it to the physical world and they can picture themselves in the cereal aisle, and someone comes up to them and they're small talking, and then all of a sudden that person's asking them personal questions. Do you have siblings? Where do you live? They would never answer those questions in the grocery store. But online, you've got to, it all makes sense in the physical world. We're used to teaching about these things in the physical world, but for some reason, digitally, it's taking more time to get used to. So sometimes making those connections with the physical world is helpful.
Yeah, it is. And I think that, like like I said at the beginning, as parents, we have so many other things to think about. So
Right.
having people like you just sort of spoon feed this to us, like that's brilliant. I would 100% use that. 100%. That's amazing. So okay, so what else have we got?
So, talking about devices, you as the CIO of your home, you're in control of what devices enter the home, right?
Right.
You are probably the one doing the purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
So, there are a couple of things to think about in terms of what devices you bring in and how you handle those devices once they're in your home.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of which devices you bring in, I always say be very intentional with Wi-Fi connected or internet connected devices that you bring into your home. Do you really need a Wi-Fi connection on your microwave or on your refrigerator or
Mm-hmm.
on your, no, you really probably don't. They do it for convenience. So you can, use an app and be in the other room, or start heating up your oven for Thanksgiving when you're not in the house yet, these kinds of things. But the convenience needs to be balanced with the risk that every internet connected device in your home could be used by an attacker as a door into your network.
You know what?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's so
Oh,
true. I know somebody who has hacked through their kettle.
okay. Exactly what I'm talking about.
So my mug that keeps my coffee warm all day long, that has an app that's connected to the internet. So my mug is a bad idea so much.
Throw it out.
Crap.
No. I'm kidding. I would look for an option that doesn't have an app. Do you use the app?
Yes.
Oh, you do use the app. Okay.
Well, I can change the color of the little indicator light with the app. I can.
So this is a perfect, Robbin, this is such a perfect example, right? There are certain items in your home that bring you joy, that are
Yes.
very convenient for
Yes.
you, that save you time during your day, and it's okay to have those things in your home. What I am encouraging is that people don't just buy everything Wi-Fi connected just because
Gotcha.
they can, but to make a deliberate choice. I love my self-heating mug, and I
Mhm.
use the app, and I love it. And it's a deliberate choice. Now, what you should try to do is make sure that it is secured to the point where an attacker cannot access the rest of your network through that mug. The way
Mhm.
your friend's network was infected through her kettle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes these internet connected devices, mugs, toasters, ovens, they they usually come to you in a default state, which is insecure, and a hacker could just basically walk right into your network through those devices. And there are some simple ways you can kind of like set a password. We could talk about that another time. Or maybe I'll create a guide on how to do that,
Yeah.
so that you can say, okay, these are the 5 things in my home besides computers and laptops that have internet, and I know that I've secured them.
What do you mean by secured? Like, how would I secure that?
So there are ways to, for instance, when you go in my guide that is in the parenting
Yeah. Toolbox. Yeah.
the toolbox is a step-by-step how to better protect your home network, right? And one of the things that it walks you through is how to go to the administrative portal for your home
Mm-hmm.
network. It's basically a website, and you as the CIO of your home should know how to access this, because it's where you manage the Wi-Fi password to your home. It's where you can see all of the devices connected to your network, those kinds of things. So when you, Robbin, log into yours, you're going to see a device listed in your home network that is your mug. And
Right.
there you'll be able to click into it and add a password, and do a couple things that will ensure that a hacker could not just easily use that as a door into your network.
Brilliant. And yeah, it's really all here. And that in and of itself is everything. Thank you so much for that. And so we were going to talk about it later, but may as well talk about it now. So
Yes.
you can download this at parent-toolbox.com. And look, there's hundreds of tools in there from all different people, from all different spaces that relate to parenting. So please do join. It's totally free, and we just want to help. So this is phenomenal, and I have to say, I kind of sit back a little bit when we talk about cyber stuff, because my husband is in IT, but that's not an excuse for me to check out. So I'm going to just use this conversation as a little bit of a wake up call for myself to say, like, yeah, I gotta not take myself off the technology train like my mom. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta know this stuff too. So and really be responsible. We can't be victims and say, well, I don't know anything. Like, you've bought this stuff. You've brought it into your home. You have given it to your child. It really is your responsibility to know all of the things about it. Like, I hate to say it, but it is really your responsibility. And it just is the way we have to go about living our lives these days. It just is. So don't fight it. And this is one page. And what I love about this is that you've got little, like, 20 minutes is all this takes. 5 minutes is all this takes. Like you've just said, like, this is quick. In an hour, you can secure so much of your stuff.
It's true. And the one thing that I will say about the point you just made, Robbin, is, I agree with you, but I don't think people need to understand everything about these devices, right?
Okay.
They really only need to understand the basics. And I think that's where I think people get a little bit intimidated is I don't even understand how all of the inner workings of this cell phone that is my third appendage, like my third arm, right? Of course,
Yeah.
It's complicated. But there are some basics that really go a long way. One other thing that I recommend that everybody do is take backups or make sure that you have backups of what's most important to your family. So that could be on the cloud. So that could be, your iCloud or OneDrive or Dropbox or any other cloud backup providers that you may choose. They have free up to a point, and then you pay per month for more storage. I do that, but then I also have a hardware storage device.
Yeah, I've got one right here. It's a terabyte. There it is right there.
Perfect.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So many people don't think about backups outside of a corporate setting. And if you have a situation at your home where someone in the house clicks on something they shouldn't, because it can happen to anybody, you want to know that what's most important to you is backed up somewhere, and the devices themselves don't really matter. Of course, it's expensive to replace these things, but if your favorite photos, your financial documents, wills, estate planning, those kinds of things are backed up on the cloud and on a physical hard drive, attackers could do anything to your computer and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's a really important piece I think some parents miss.
Yeah. My husband, he was talking to one of the advisors that he works with in the job that he has. And this guy kept all of his passwords on his notes app in his phone. And he, somebody got to his notes and I think robbed the poor guy blind. So yeah. Okay, that's so great. That's so great to know. Okay, what else have you got for us?
So in terms of some other prevention items to think about, physical camera covers on laptops, tablets, cell phones go a long way. Something that we're seeing criminals do with sextortion, which we talked about, is look through cameras. If they've been able to get malware on the device, if you get someone to click on something, just one link, an attacker can sometimes get access to your camera and turn it on without the little light turning on. So if you have a physical cover that you slide
Yeah.
closed every time
Yeah.
you're not using it, you prevent anyone from looking through your camera when you don't want the camera on. We've also seen criminals say to people that they have camera footage of them when they really don't.
Yes.
Right? Just an
Yes.
empty threat. And I know someone who received a message like that saying, we've been recording you for weeks, and we've seen you naked and we've seen you changing and all these things. They said, no, you haven't. I have a camera cover. So they
Right.
didn't believe it. And it saved them tons of panic and heartache and all these things because they're like,
Yeah.
you don't.
Oh, thank you for that. That's really big. I saw a Dr. Phil episode where there is a family that were being harassed. They had cameras in the home, and somebody hacked in and was able to
Mm,
somehow talk to them through a speaker of
yes.
some sort. I can't quite remember, but and 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 so he had a cybersecurity expert on, just like you, and he was able to explain how they were able to do that, and it was just like
Mhm.
shocking, and that's the harm, right? That's the harm. It's
That's
just
right.
harassment. Like, you get a kick out of that. That's terrible.
That's right. Some people do, and it is pure trauma for the
Yeah.
families. I mean, the invasion of privacy and the impact on a young child's mind, it's terrible. And so, choosing those devices that you bring into the home carefully, look for security ratings on the box, you
Oh, good
know,
one.
those kinds of things, going into that portal and seeing if you can add some security elements there in that portal, physical covers, those kinds of things.
Can I ask you,
Yeah.
sometimes we'll see, or I'll get an email where something that I subscribe to has been attacked or whatever, and they'll say, oh, no, your stuff is fine, but sometimes it's not fine, and so I'm not even sure how to ask the question, but I
I
think what
know what you're
I mean.
saying.
Yeah, and somewhere there is a list of the people who were actually affected, and they will publish your username and password.
That's
So
right.
I guess that's where we talk about, what do you do then? What do you
Yep.
do then? And should you be looking for that? Is there one place where you go to see if your information is out there? Like, all of those things that I don't
Yes.
know to say.
Yes. Yes, and yes, and yes. Great question. So when you receive an email like that from any company that you engage with, and they say, we have experienced a cybersecurity incident,
Yeah.
we're, investigating. Good news, your data does not seem to have been impacted. We're just letting you know. Unfortunately, that is usually what all the companies say in the first week of their investigation. And then they learn later that actually was much worse than they thought. So you need to assume, if you receive an email or a notification like that, that your data has been taken as part of this, cybersecurity breach. Usually what criminals do is they go in and they steal the customer databases. So if I just made a purchase at Target, in a Target database somewhere is my name, my email address, my credit card number, right? All the things like in my customer file of theirs. Criminals take that entire database and they then sell it or use it to try and conduct further attacks, phishing messages, things like that. So the best thing you can do is change the password associated with that account. So in my example, if I get an email from Target saying, we're so sorry, we've had an attack, we're still investigating, we'll keep you posted, I would go straight to target.com. I would type it in myself, target.com, and log into my account and change my password. Why? Because the version of the database that the criminals take has your username and password at that past date.
Right.
If you've changed your password, they can no longer get in with that combination. So
Okay.
anytime you receive a notification, change your password with that account. The place that you go to look and see if your information has been stolen in one of those kinds of attacks where a criminal took a database from a company is a website called haveibeenpwned.com.
Wow.
HAVEIBEEN BEEN TWNED.com. Pwned is a gaming term that means kind of you've been destroyed, you've been like, I won, I've defeated you, pwned.
Wow.
So you go to haveibeenpwned.com, which was set up by a prominent security researcher named Troy Hunt. And you can plug in your email address there, and they will show you any company that had your email address in their databases that had a data breach. And what do? You change your password at any of those companies.
That's great. Thank you.
And it's free and it's safe. It's a known security researcher, so you don't have to worry about putting your email address in there. And it's a great resource. You can also be notified for any new appearances of your email address. You can check like notify me. And if there's a new breach, they will, Have I Been Pwned will send you an email saying change your password.
Amazing. That is amazing. Thank you so much. That's
Sure.
wow. You have dropped so many amazing, brilliant, helpful. How many adjectives can I use? Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is incredible. And obviously I knew that you would be this incredible, but you've blown my mind even more than I thought you would. Okay. So is there any more that you want to share before we go?
Just the one thing on the topic of knowing what's out there about you, it's really helpful, I think, for everyone, parent or not, to understand what information is out on the public internet about you. So Have I Been Pwned shows you what is potentially on the dark web for sale about you. But what is in the open internet is also really useful for criminals. If I Google my own name, I will find a lot of websites that have accumulated my previous addresses, my previous phone numbers, family members of mine. And I don't want that information all out there because criminals can use it to target me. So there is a service that I use. I've gotten all my family to use it. It's called Canary, Kanary. And what Canary does is, for a monthly subscription, Canary does the work to search all across the open internet for your information. And they show you everything that's out there about you. So when I ran my first search, I had 187 websites where my either name, phone number, address, or name and birthday showed up.
Whoa.
And Canary lets you go one by one and look at them. And you tell Canary, leave this one up. This is my LinkedIn profile, for instance. You found it, leave it up. But it helps to delete and take down the information that you don't want out there. Otherwise, you're expected to do this yourself and Google yourself and go site by site and fill out the request form. Please take my information down. And they don't. So I am down to like 30 something pieces of data that I know of, that I've approved, or that they're still working to take down, because sometimes it takes a bit of time. So that's a really helpful tool, something I looked for a long time, and now it exists. So I recommend that to everyone. Okay, so I just want to point out, we're going to put all of this in the show notes. So I've been pwned. How do you say it? Have I been pwned? Pwned. Okay. Like owned only with a P. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I see that now. Okay. haveibeenpwned.com and then canary.com. And you do have you do have a coupon code for people to get a free month. So it is a paid subscription, which, look, they're doing a pretty amazing service, if you ask me. So and is this and do you pay it's a nominal fee, right? And is that per person, or is there a family plan or anything like that? Do you know? They have both. So my plan is $9.99 a month, and I sleep so much better knowing that I have a service running all the time, alerting me of when my name or the names of my family members appear online, and I can go look at them. So when you think about the risk reduction, it really is a very low fee. But yes, I have a coupon code if people are interested in signing up, and you can get a free month. Awesome. Well, like, I'm going to be doing that myself. I think that is fantastic. So Maria-Kristina, you are incredible. And look, if nothing else, please follow her on Instagram and check her out on YouTube as well, because she has brilliant, up-to-date
tips and just information so that you're just in the know. And she makes it really simple to understand. And I mean, you're just so fun too. I don't think there's too many cyber people out there who I would say are fun. You really are. You're great. You're such a lovely person. And you're talking to us from Italy right now, which is even cooler. So I just wanted to point that out. That's, so I'm like geeking out over the information. And again, we have this tool that, please encourage your friends as well to check this out, and Maria-Kristina's sites. All of it is in the show notes, in the description. If you're watching us on YouTube, it's in the description below. And look, we just want you to live a happy, healthy, safe life.
That's right.
It's just one component of it, right? And you have a brilliant career behind you to support what you're saying, and a brilliant career in front of you as well. So, please use somebody like Maria-Kristina who really just wants to help you. And it's Outfoxing. I love the name Outfoxing. It's OUTFOXM. That's your brand. And I just love everything about you. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, the feeling is mutual, Robbin. You're doing so much good work to help parents everywhere on so many different topics. And I'm hoping that this contributes just in some small way to some small element of it. But it's been so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this edition of my podcast, Parenting Our Future. I'm parent coach Robbin McManne. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with someone who you think might also need to hear this message. And don't forget to subscribe. And if you like my work, I'd be grateful if you gave me a 5-star rating. For those of you who like my content and want more, visit me at yellingcurebook.com to get your copy of my book and to find other resources to help you. Until next time, I am wishing you and your family peace and connection.